You lost the league at Goodison Park. 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 Oh, mate, I'm so G'd up. And this is honestly the best feeling I felt after a game. I've got the Everton shirt back on. All's good with the world. I mean, 14 years it has taken for Everton to win against Liverpool in a Merseyside derby. I haven't seen one properly before. The last time Everton won a Merseyside derby, Tim Cahill, the main reason in which I support this team, was playing for the team. So it's been a long time coming. I mean, Liverpool, their title hopes have been hijacked, basically. We've probably got ourselves clear enough of the relegation zone to remain up. Everything's gone well. I mean, Liverpool fans are down in the dumps. They were getting mocked out of the stadium. The players were getting pissed off, giving away yellow cards, basically cussing at the ref. I mean, from minute one, we played the perfect game. The fans were involved early on. I think the player performance really helped with that. From minute one, it looked like we were absolutely on the ball. I mean, Jack Harrison sent in a beautiful outside the foot cross into the box. DCL would have had a penalty, but of course it was offside. But I think that really set the tone for the rest of the game. Everyone performed. There literally was no weak link, which is something that we haven't been able to say too often in recent memory. But this is just staggering. I mean, we lost 6-0 a week ago, or just a little bit over a week ago. And in the last 2 games have not conceded a goal since. And the wins have been very resounding. I did not expect us to play as well as we did against a team who obviously had a crap ton to play for. So let's talk about the review, and I'm pretty happy about this one. So look, there were just great efforts all over the place. I mean, you go as far back into the first half as, the moment where there was a cross for Liverpool. I don't think we had scored to that stage. I may be wrong, but there was a cross in, a very dangerous cross of sorts, and it looked like we were beaten. Liverpool had found the gaps, and they did a pretty good job of that in the back end of the first half. But Ben Godfrey came across from the far side, the space he occupies on the flank. He was absolutely superb today, but was able to slide in, get that ball out of play, and, obviously it resulted in a corner. But there were 2 players for Liverpool lining up as the ball bypassed Pickford. So it's just those little efforts, The desperation, I think, was really embodied in that play. The desperation we showed on the day, but it was not that play in isolation. It was so many moments. The amount of blocks that Everton players had to, put themselves in harm's way for was just staggering, but every single time a Liverpool shot was let off, an Everton player was always in the way. Just a crazy blockade almost. And it was pretty impenetrable. I mean, Tarkowski was an absolute rock at the back. Every single aerial pass that was sent into the box, Tarkowski made absolute surety out of it that it was not going to be going any further. Jarrad Branthwaite, of course, the goal. And that guy bleeds blue. I mean, if the guy's tugging his shirt like this, the viciousness of it all after he scored, that is the embodiment of a future captain, hopefully in the blue shirt. But I think a lot of big clubs are going to be banging down the door for his services because he has just been absolutely brilliant for this team. Mykolenko was hobbling on one leg for the best part of 10 to 15 minutes in the back end of the first half, and he just toughed it out. I mean, that shows desperation in a different sense, just desperate to have an impact on the game. He had such a great first half, had Mo Salah in his back pocket, and he still hasn't left. It's just ridiculous performances all over. James Garner sliding in all the time, helping us link up play. I think the composure was a really important thing because Liverpool obviously love to apply pressure, and for a team that's not very good in possession like Everton, we did well, all things considered, given who we were playing. There were moments where we needed to navigate our way through and just take an extra second instead of being too panicky on the ball, but I think we did a really good job of that. Dwight McNeil on the wing, I mean, that guy just worked hard for days, getting into the center of the park as he usually does, but the defensive work was really important. I think even Jack Harrison was an absolute gun today from minute one. you know, his attacking prowess, he was pretty good on the ball. The crossing into the box was of much better quality than we've seen previously. You know, and some of his defensive work at the start of the second half, it sort of slacked off a little bit. But, you know, as the second half grew, Jack Harrison really, you know, grew in stature and was much, much better. Being involved in our play every time we went forward, I think we played more so on that side today, but, you know, the results were reaped. You know, ultimately, he was a part of that sequence to get us that first goal, to give us that separation early on in the match, get the fan base a little bit more involved, and from then on, it was just raucous. The crowd was raucous. The chanting was ridiculous. The shithousery was, you know, unparalleled to previous games. I have not seen Goodison rocking like that for a very, very long time. It seems dead at times, and me being overseas, it goes through the screen almost. Like, the lack of atmosphere is sort of tangible, but, you know, today it was just pretty unrelenting. It didn't stop. I'm just trying to think of other players we haven't spoken of yet. DCL, I mean, that guy all of a sudden is a bit of a striker in form, and apparently this guy was going through a stomach bug. You know, he had injury issues throughout the week. He also hadn't trained, and then he also had a strapped up knee, which, you know, he went off in the previous fixture and didn't even look like he had any business playing this game. But here we are talking about him having scored the decisive goal, or not the decisive goal, but the goal that in Everton terms was decisive, even to like the 85th minute. I think a lot of, you know, the fan base was still chewing their nails because, you know, Liverpool are renowned for those late game goals and, you know, just absolutely tearing, you know, all 3 points away from the opposition. So it's just credit to the team. I mean, Liverpool were off it. From minute one, they looked a bit shell-shocked, a bit off it. There were a couple of moments they had where they were sort of able to manipulate the pitch, you know, weave their way through with some very pinpoint passes, but they just didn't have that quality on the ball once they took the first touch. Like, the first touch was heavy, or got away from them, or they just didn't have, you know, the power, even the accuracy. So a lot of that was lacking, but I think they also lacked discipline, a bit more of an intangible sort of element to the game. They gave away like 9 fouls in the first 25 minutes of the game. Ultimately, that's what resulted in the first goal. Sure, it has a bit to do with the element of not dealing with business. When they tried to clear it, they simply didn't. Alexander-Arnold had a bit of a fresh airy trying to header it away, and Tarkowski was good enough to keep it alive. And, you know, Harrison was able to square it up. Godfrey got the shot off, and then a bit of extra luck involved. But, you know, with all that considered, I think Liverpool, if they weren't as undisciplined, sure, there were a very high amount of very soft decisions. There were quite a few where I thought there was absolutely nothing in it, and the referee blew his whistle to call a foul. But, you know, Liverpool simply were off the mark tonight, and amazingly, for a team with about 25% possession in the game, they actually looked the better team. Liverpool just did not have a sniff. Every single time they tried to score from range, we had the answer. Every time they tried to pass through, we had the answer. And every single time we went forward, we had the answer. So it's just awesome. It's really good to see. I'm actually amazed how much of a bearing Deitch wearing a tracksuit has on our results. I mean, we're 100% win rate with Deitch wearing a tracksuit. I mean, I may have to cop one myself. I think I was watching Toffee TV, and the comment was made that was thrown out there was, you know, Deitch is starting to become full scouse wearing that tracksuit, and he just needs to add up a few more accessories, and then he's the full scouser. So I think it's a really good vibe in the building at the moment. Obviously, we had a long stage of time where the team was somehow remaining afloat. They had done enough earlier in the season, but it was difficult to find where a win was coming from. You just needed a bit of patience. The minute DCL has started to score goals, you know, the team has sort of followed him as one of the leaders of this team. You know, he's leading the front line by himself. He's one of the bookends. He's responsible for something that's been, you know, a major difficulty throughout the season. So now that he's scoring goals, he scored 3 and 4. You just needed to wait with him. We just needed to show that same patience with Deitch. And I can't give a player of the match, but I am going to give it to Idrissa Gana Gueye, because everywhere we needed him to be, he was. You know, he was tackling, sliding in, playing passes. I think the really important thing was his positioning after we won the ball back in Liverpool's penalty box, you know, every single time we needed a short pass or someone to just clear the lines, Idrissa Gana Gueye was always there to be that supporting piece. And I think that's really, really important against a team that causes major issues once they sort of trap you in their attacking third. So credit to him, because he was absolutely huge in terms of involvement. He did come off in like the 75th minute or whatever, but his job had been done, and done to a very, very high standard. So that's what we needed from everyone today, but I felt like Idrissa Gana Gueye's game was just absolutely superb. So you could make a case for every single Everton player. You know, if we look at the game in phases, the first 15 to 20 minutes, then we look at the middle portion of the game. When we needed Jordan Pickford to make some vital saves, he did. So that middle portion of the game, we had players like Pickford showing up there. And then at the back end of the game, you know, we had obviously DCL rock up, and then we had, you know, the vital second and third efforts to just keep that ball out of Liverpool's net, because there were quite a few stages where you sort of were a little bit uneasy in your seat if you were an Evertonian. So credit to this team, man. Absolutely brilliant. Merseyside is blue. I'm a happy man. I think everyone is. And you know what? I think we may be safe. I hope that doesn't age poorly, but we're probably a point or two away. We just need to do business with that Luton result, and we also have Sheffield as a backup option should that fall flat. But as far as I'm concerned, we just need to win every single game that's left. I mean, it's just a non-negotiable. Let's push for the middle portion of the table. Even with the point deduction, Dyche has done a brilliant job. We're at 33 points now. We got deducted 8 points already. So as it stands, we have had a 40-point season, which is something we haven't done for years and years on end. I act like it's been a long time when in reality, it's actually only been a couple of seasons, but it has felt so long. It's been that dire a period. You know, when you're feeling pain, it tends to prolong itself. And it's good to see that we are in a very good spot a little bit earlier on in the season in comparison to, you know, the previous seasons we've had. So let's just go for the highest mark we can possibly get. Let's win as many games as we can. We've got Brentford next, then we've got Luton, then we've got Sheffield. So 3 big fixtures incoming, but we can absolutely make sure of it with a win on the weekend. So given we've had these couple of wins, I think that is the confidence we absolutely need to close out the season on a high. So that's going to do it from me. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you are new. We'll be back for the Brentford fixture review on the weekend. But until then, have a good one. Stay safe. Enjoy the win. And we'll see you soon. Bye for now.